these are the contents in the invitation to the bid. Like we are taking a look at the sample government project or invitation bid for road construction work, right? And this is the overview. We have finished general. We talked about scope of bid, source of funds, eligible bidders, and so on. And we also talk about bidding documents and preparation of bids and something like that. And also we talked about submission of bid, and we have finished with the modification and withdrawal of bid, right? So this is pretty interesting lecture, and it's very important, significant features of bidding process. Right. So in this lecture, we'll be focusing on the bid opening and evaluation, which is considered to be one of the important key features in contracting. Right. So let's take a look at that. And also we take a look at the award of contract. Right. So we have to go to section E. Let me scroll down to section E. Yeah. This is bid opening and evaluation. Right. So once you send your bid proposal, right? So before the deadline, and we know that like anything, if you send after the deadline, it is summarily rejected, right? So this is typically the process people who have done preparing the bid and get submitted before its deadline or something like that, right? So section E, bid opening and evaluation. Bid opening, like when exactly the bid is opened or something like that, right? That will be generally mentioned in the invitation to the bid. Like in this case, you can see, they say 15:30 hours on the date specified. No, that will be the day, bidder should be present so that like they'll open, right? So if it is a holiday for the employer, which is the person who sends the bid, then it will be open at the same time at the next working day, something like that. Right, so unexpected holiday or something like that happens, like they will be having the process, the bid evaluation and the next working day. And whichever which has got the mark called withdrawal. You remember in the previous case we talked about withdrawal from the bidding, like in case if at all they find some cover with a bid proposal, and on the cover it is mentioned as withdrawal, and that will be just open first, and then read they are like withdrawing from the nomination or withdrawing from the participation, right? And then like a bid price bids, all these things gets evaluated, like it will take some time, like generally it'll be um, some portion of time for the scrutiny, for it is a selective tendering or it's just like something like that. But generally for open tender we just also have pre-qualification, so we just the contract, I mean the employer checks the pre-qualification of the contractor and then it gets evaluated, right? So withdrawn bids will be generally returned to the bidders unopened, so they are not considered into the bidding process, something like that. Wow. Right, so process to confidential, this is very important. One of the key features about the bidding process and all this contracting terminologies or contracting processes, all the confidentiality, right? So if you say for example, if you invite for bid, and you should select evaluator such a way that the person is very honest and does not leaks the information to the outsiders, and also he does not have any bias in selecting the particular contractor or company. Right, so that's very important. Information relating to the examination, clarification, evaluation, and comparison of bids even. Like for example, if the two company bids for a particular project, and if one company has an upper hand, but the evaluator is in favor of the other one, he need not inform the other company to accelerate or just catch up with the good proposal. So that biasing or the confidentiality is a very important thing in the bidding processes, right? So it is illegal process, but in a private sector it is considered to be immoral activity, right? But it's all in the hands of the evaluator and something like that. And also like we should select evaluators such a way that it does not belongs to any of the company that submitting the bid also, so that's very important, right? Right. bidders should not influence employers processing a bid also. Like for example, once they submit the bid, then the bidders like talk to the employers directly about the process and something like that. Then that's also considered to be an immoral activity, right? And the award decision may be resulting in the rejection of their bid, like something like that. So a very old movie, Tamil movie called Mr. Bharat. In that a particular scene, they try to influence the evaluator, and then the evaluator reject the bidding of the particular construction company. So if you have time, you can take a look at that. So that's basically the confidentiality. Then it's very important is the clarification of bid. Sometimes as I told you, the evaluator should not talk to the company about the bid. But in case like if the evaluator needs some clarification, so you cannot summarily reject because it has done with a lot of care and other processes. So in that case, the evaluator can ask for clarification, like what does that specific items described in your bid proposal, or why the cost of this is pretty high when compared to other, in a generic sense, not in a detailed sense. But if the justification given to the evaluator by the bidder is acceptable, then they try to scrutiny other aspects of their bid or something like that. Generally, there will be in a variation in terms of cement usage. Say, for example, if somebody gets the Ultratech or Ramco cements, it is considered to yield good compressive strength in the constructed facility. But they are a little bit higher when compared to the other unbranded cements. But if somebody quotes unbranded cements and with the least cost, naturally the evaluator trend to look into the cheapest, or the optimal cost bidders. But then like there's a you know hidden cost to that, because if they use cheap quality materials, then the construction also gets deteriorated and maintenance costs can shoot up after some period of time, right? So bearing that in mind, like not only the return on investment, but also the longevity of the constructed facility. That's why people go for tender, no, so to get things done with the by the specialist, right? So something like that. And then like examination of bids and the determination of responsiveness. This term is very important term called responsiveness, when which the contractor or the person who responds or submits a bid proposal should be in a position, or should be in an active position to take up the corresponding things. Not only if it's an open bid, so anybody can bid, but there should be some amount of authenticity, and also some amount of sureness to compete the not only for the bidding but also to take up the project, right? So you remember the rejection, or the in the previous video we talked about, the bid security gets forfeited because some people gets bidding, they win the bid also, but then they do not take up the project, so they forfeit these caution deposit, or bidding security or something like that, right? And a very important thing is like before to the evaluation of the bid, the employer will determine whether each bid meets the eligible criteria. Like so, as I told you, like with the case of a cement example, so it's not necessarily a cheapest bid wins, but also it should have a good specification. And all these things are signed. You can see all pages are signed. Generally, you can see the signature of bidder. So it's just a legal document, and they say all are signed properly. And very importantly, they have the securities and the completeness of the bid proposal. So incomplete bids are also rejected summarily. So which means that um, even some portion they have not furnished it in the bid proposal, that's why they take much care in uh, framing the bid and something like that. And then like the condition specifications of the bidding document, like method material deviation reservation should be there. And also like they also have to give scope, quality, and performance of the work and something like that. So it's basically the work package. So I remember in the first table we talked about these things in detail. And then like if it is not the bid is not substantially responsive, it will be rejected, like they also mentioned that. And then like withdrawal of non-conforming deviation reservation is also considered to be non-responsiveness. Like it's kind of a pretty much non-responsiveness, so that like even though if a particular bid is high quality but it has incompleteness or irresponsiveness, then it's probably rejected and then given opportunity to the next standing in a bid proposal. Then corrections of errors is also pretty much important. People talk about not only the inconsistency or error, but also minor errors like that might be unintentional. Like say for example, in a wording they say 40,000 rupee, and in a content they just put 4 lakh. They add 1 0 extra, so the wording matters. So in that case, it's just an error or typography error or something like that. That is pretty similar in every bid proposal. Even in this particular thing, in the invitation to bid itself, like there are some spellings that are pretty much erroneous. Like so, in that case, like the whole document, they spend almost 50, 60 pages, and then errors as a human or unavoidable. But then it cannot be major errors, like minor errors. In that case, the employer requests the particular bidder to correct it before the final evaluation or something. That is why they say rates in figure and words. If it is not matches, the words is generally governed. So the word, whatever in the word, that matters. That's what they say in the invitation to bid itself. Like you might put 40,000 for 4 zeros, then dot 2 zeros, and some countries they avoid decimal point, and then they give a round off value. Or some countries like France and all, Germany and all, they don't use decimal point for decimal indication. Instead they put comma. Like if it is 40,000 50 rupees, then for 50 rupees is fine, but 0.50, sometimes in dollars or something, they have a comma and 50, right? So after 40,000, right? So that's you know practice they follow, but it'll be difficult for us. That's why if you go to some say Springer website, like if you go as a very good journal, if you want to purchase some journal, they just mention it in euro. They mention as 39 comma 99, something like that. Like if it is a 40, approximately $40, they mention as 39 comma 99. So people might think it's 3,999, right? So for the people who does not know, comma is a conversion for decimal, right? So such things can happen, right? So that's why words important in that case. If they have some thing written like $40 or 39.99 like that, then it's understood. So words actually governs, right? Then I talk about multiplying the unit rate by quantity. In case like they missed out multiplication, like they have a quantity, say 50 units, and each say 1 rupee, right? Something like that. So it'll be 50 rupees. But if they fail to multiply by 50, and then like it's just like a 1 rupee, or something like if they just only consider something like 1 rupee in a sense, and all like 50 something like interchanging of not multiplying properly, then it'll be a big disaster, right? Something like that. And then like you can see even the invitation to bid, it's a government thing. So if something is deleted, they keep it deleted, right? So the final version, they don't make this as 28 or something, but deleted is deleted. They might have some idea initially, then they thought like it's not necessary, then they have deleted it, something. So even invitation to bid has got deletions and additions and something like that, right? And then like evaluation and comparison of bid, like this is very important. First, in an evaluation, it is the bid price gets adjusted only in following conditions, like when the erroneous calculation, or if the contractor or the bidder gets gives the appropriate justification for the variability or something like that. Like if they change in the price of the government list itself, in that case they can take a look at that in much detail. And then other discounts and other price modifications, like they might thought like initially it would be 10%, but in a current situation they only give a 5% discount from the external agency. Then they can ask for the modification, but sometimes that can be leads to rejection of the bid also. Like that's why the employer reserves the rights to reject any variations reported in case if they feel it's unnecessary or something. Then very importantly, this is where like if successful bidders unbalanced in relation to the engineer's estimate. So engineers also, I mean, the person who invites bid also have their own measure of the value of the project, like approximate value of the project. So that is what they take it as a benchmark to evaluate the bidders. If a bidder is substantially very high than the engineer's estimate, in this case the engineer's estimate, then that's rejected. Or something like even slightly above, but it's justifiable. Like it can be good, it's for a good reason, right? So the price is higher. In that case, is also, the person and the it's depending upon the evaluator to accept or reject it. Anything less than that also will be viewed seriously, because the power estimate, if they don't meet it, like how can they do it with a good quality and something? If they're able to, substantially provide evidence to that, like for maintaining the quality as well, then they can be given. Generally, they will look into the power score with the estimate of the client or the person who invites for the bid. Next is very, very important. It's the final component of the invitation to bid is the award of contract. You might wonder like why they talk about award of contract in the invitation to bid, because they should know in before sending the bid itself, like what will be the evaluation criteria, and we have seen. But what happens if you get the bid, right? Something like that. And they need to know what is kind of a slice and package basis. Like this is specific to this particular invitation to bid, which means that like lowest bid evaluated bid price will be determined in conjunction with the quality and other stuff, and then it will be given on something like that. And employers right to accept any bid and to reject any bids also. So there should not be any quarrel after the bidding gets evaluated, or once the announcement is done, there should not be any problem. So they say employer has the rights to accept and rejects the bid or something like that, right? And employer reserves the complete rights to do that, right? That's why it's kind of an it may seems like one-sided, but but it's just the right of the employer. Employer is the one who invites bidding, right? And then notification of the award. Generally, if it is an open bidding, then they select the bidding the person with the good competency. I mean, the contractor with the good competency to take up the job. But generally, even formally, they'll be notified, right? So they'll be notified for saying that you're selected, and then like we'll talk about agreement after that, signing agreement, right? And bid validity period, that is something like 90 days. Generally it's a 90 days, when which once the successful bidder was selected, they'll be given 90 days to take up that project. So they don't generally take it immediately, so they can take 90 days. And then within 90 days they have to sign an agreement, and that is called letter of acceptance or called conditions of contract. Right? And then nowadays, like people even do it online, so they can email. This is a very old thing. That's why they have got telex, fax email, and something like that. And generally, it'll be given in a physical copy or hard form. Or nowadays, in the modern trends, people use email also, right? They submit that, and then on the particular day, the contractor and the client meets, and then they signs the contract. I mean, that's the undertaking, right? So then it's called as the contract. From this onwards, like bidding turns out to be a contract, right? Something. And the employer within 28 days, the notification of award along with the letter of acceptance to reach the the successful bidder, right? Within 28 days of the successful bidder receiving the agreement, they have to deliver it to the employee after signing and something like that. And this is not constant. This is for this particular, contract. It gets varied. People can have got even 90 days and something like that. It's depending upon the employers or the nature of the project itself. If they want to do it immediately, then it all depends upon the employer or something like that. And performance security. So once the successful bidder is evaluated, he will be given back the caution deposit or the bid security that they have submitted. In addition to that, they will be having something called performance security, something like 5% of the contract price plus additional security, and for unbalanced bid or something like, the nature of the bid itself is kind of a very uncertain, or which has some chaotic element into it. It's a stochastic element to it, right? Something like that. And that's something like that. Like, generally, people convert that security bid into performance bid, but that will be lesser. Like performance bids are higher than security bids. In that case, they only have to add additional money or something like that. And it depends upon the contractors and the client. Something. And then we talk about additional security deposit. That will be 50% of the bid price, minus, or like unless 10% of the office estimate, like setting up cost and something like that. Like that's gonna be the additional security deposit or something like that. And advance payment and security, they got this and then they deleted adjudicators or the arbitrators and conciliators. And here it's a government thing, so they can conciliate themselves. They can prepare, they can have set mutual conciliators or arbitrators, something like that. Corrupt or fraudulent practices. Corrupt practice means like bribing and other related stuff, and this is totally unacceptable and it's illegal also. Fraudulent practice is misrepresentation of facts. Say for example, if somebody quotes, they say they do it in a good quality material, and then they don't comply that standards while doing it, then that's called fraudulent practices. Or this, they don't follow some standards, safety standards or something like that, and they compromise on these things like quality and safety, then that's also called fraudulent practices. And it will reject the award of contract even, like, that's why after the contract given also, the client will appoint an inspector to investigate the construction, and same way, based on their inspection only, they gets paid or something like that. So that's basically a very important thing. And breach of contract is violation of contract, and withdrawal of bids is what we generally talk about in subsequent lectures.